Guys, it's a Chook Man here once again. Today's 30 degrees. It feels about 35, 36 if you ask me, but that's my opinion. Don't crucify me for my opinion, yeah? Because there's a lot of people out there that are taking things too seriously. They're going up and above. Anyway, as you all know, I love to tell interesting stories. Here's another interesting story. Well, I find it very interesting because I've lived an interesting, colourful life. Back when I was 16, now don't forget I'm 56 now. I did work, believe it or not, back then. I was in and out of jobs. I couldn't hold a job too long because of the trauma I had suffered beforehand. Anyway, I got a job in Thomastown in Marnish Road in Batocchi's. Now, for you people that don't know Batocchi's, he's a well-known Italian meat dealer. He sold meat, legs of lamb, ham. He's well known, Mr. Patocchi, or I can't remember his name, but he's a little Italian bloke, and he had, excuse the French, he had steel balls, and that's the way I just explained how he is. A little bloke, stocky. I got this job and I was riding my push bike there, and I was living in Reservoir at the time, so I had to ride my bike there every time. And I used to lock it out the front of Batocchi's. And the story went, as I went working there, he was a hard man. He was always on your case. There was a lot of new Australians that worked for him back then. It's off Marnies Road there. I can't remember the street that he's in, but if you look it up, Batocchi's Meats, his family is still there. I think he's been there for a hell of a long time. I'm 56 and I still remember the father. He was a little man and he had short grey hair. When I met him, he gave me the job. I walked in there and I said, I'm here for the job. And he come out, he interviewed me. He couldn't speak good English. He was more Italian. He said, you speak Italian? I said, no, I don't speak Italian, sorry. He goes, you come for the job? I said, yes. He goes, you come with me. And I looked at him and I went, whoa. I said, you were the boss, yeah? He goes, yeah, I'm the boss. I tell you something, you do as you're told, when you're told, and how you're told. Otherwise, you don't have job anymore. I'm looking at him thinking, okay, don't forget I was 16. A young 16-year-old teenage kid that wouldn't know shit from clay. Anyway, you know how to work hard? I said, yeah. He said, come, I'll show you my factory. And we showing me all the different parts of the meat, how they packed meat. They packed ham, they packed, they even cooked meat there. They used to cook silver side in these metal containers. It was a big factory when I went in there, and I was like, wow, have a look at this. And there was tables everywhere, people working everywhere, but there were most new Australians there. There wasn't too many Aussies there, and I'm not being racist. I'm telling you how it is back in the 70s, guys. So there was a lot of new Australian people worked for him. Not too many Aussies, and he had all these drivers that used to come in the trucks. They were new Australians as well. I stuck out like a sore thumb. Anyway, he was a hard man. You'd have to believe me when I say he's a hard man. Like, you turn around and he'd be there. Hurry up, come on, what are you doing? Come on, work faster, come on. Well, all right. Anyway, he was like, he'd turn up. You turn around and there he was, Anyway, I didn't last too long in this factory job because he was too hard with me. He was every 5 minutes I turn around and he's yelling at me. Go and get this, do this, go and get this, come here, boy. Boy, come here. Get this, get that. And I thought, my foster old man yells like him and I don't like him doing that. So why is he? I know he's my boss and he's paying me. Back then I was getting about $70 a week. Every time I clocked on, Mr. Batocchi, I can't remember his name. He's whether it's Peter or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of his name. Even when I clocked on, he goes, hurry up, boy. You're come late. You're finished." I thought, gee, I just clocked on. And anyway, I had my push bike out the front and behind some bushes. And one of his drivers, get this, one of his drivers picked the push bike up and put it in one of the delivery vans. So I went into the office and reported it. They didn't care, you know what I mean? And it was, that was pretty. To do that to a 16-year-old kid, that's bad, man. I'm riding my push bike to work, and from work. I need that push bike. Anyway, not long after that, I spoke to Mr. Batocchi, and I said, "Mate, I can't work here." I said, "One of your drivers has pinched my push bike, and someone witnessed one of the drivers doing it, one of the workers." And they said, "Come here, Ray." It was one of the drivers. And he wasn't prepared to lag on him or dob him in or whatever you want to call it back then. So I just had a gut full of it. Every day I used to come in, I used to catch the bus and walk to work after that. And Mr. Batocchi used to yell at me all the time, I think because I was Australian and he had most of new Australians working for him. I don't think he liked me, or I don't know what he was up to, but it was all wrong. He was abusing me. Yes, I'm his worker. He's got rights to say, hurry up and do this and do that, but he's got no rights to abuse me. I am a human being at the end of the day. Yes, he does pay me, but that doesn't give him the rights to stand there every 5 minutes and yell at me and chuck things at me and say, hurry up, hurry up. He was you could probably ask anyone back in the 70s that knew Batocchi's Meatworks, that the father was a hard man. He either liked you or he didn't like you. And that's just a quick story on one of the jobs I had when I was 16. I like to reminisce on the jobs I've owned and had, back in the day. Back in when I was a teenager, you had to, if you wanted money, you had to get off your ass, get a job, and work hard. You didn't get any free card, But that was an eye-opener. That was just one of the jobs I've actually worked for. I worked for Batocchi's for 3 months. After the 3 months of him yelling at me all the time, everything was wrong and this and that, and the push bike going missing, I resigned. And he wasn't happy when I resigned because he was supposed to give me, I gave notice. He was supposed to give me some money when I left, and he didn't even do that. He just showed me the door and said, "See you later." I remember it just like that. Anyway, guys, that's another interesting story of the Chook Man in his travels and how he used to work back when he was younger. And there's many more stories like that one to come. You look back now and just think, but it is what it is back those days, Hard days. Alright, guys, as I always say, look after your mental health and have a great day.